Emily always believed that her marriage to Ryan was a modern fairy tale. They met in college, both studying business administration, and from their first meeting at the campus cafe, the chemistry between them was undeniable. Ryan was charismatic, with a smile that lit up any room, while Emily was intelligent and determined, with a sense of humor that perfectly complemented Ryan's charm. After graduating, they followed promising professional paths. Ryan quickly climbed the ranks at a tech company, while Emily excelled as a financial consultant. Together, they bought a beautiful house in the suburbs of Seattle, a perfect retreat with a lush garden that Emily loved to tend on weekends. Friday nights were reserved for romantic dinners, either at trendy restaurants or at home, where Ryan would cook their favorite dishes, while Emily chose the perfect wine to accompany them. Over time, responsibilities increased. Ryan started traveling more for work, and Emily, always the dedicated supporter, adjusted her schedule to maintain a balance between her career and domestic life. Love messages in the morning and video calls during Ryan's trips were constant, reinforcing the connection they both valued so much. On their wedding anniversaries, they always took a special trip, reminiscing about the beginning of their relationship and renewing their vows of eternal love. When Emily became pregnant, the couple's happiness seemed complete. Ryan attended all the medical appointments, holding Emily's hand and talking to the forming baby, already promising to be the best dad in the world. The arrival of Emma, their daughter, brought even more joy to the house. Ryan proved to be a dedicated father, always willing to change diapers and sing lullabies, while Emily marveled at the new family dynamic. However, beneath this facade of perfection, small signs began to appear. Ryan, who used to share every detail of his day, became more reserved. Business trips became more frequent and longer. Emily, always trusting her husband, attributed these changes to work stress. But on some lonely nights, when the house was quiet and Emma was already asleep, Emily felt a pang of worry. She pushed these thoughts away, reminding herself of the love promises and happy moments they shared. Ryan had always been a loving husband and exemplary father. However, what Emily didn't know was that fate was about to turn her world upside down, bringing to light truths she could never have imagined. The morning sun flooded the house through the colored glass windows of the kitchen while Emily prepared breakfast. Emma, now 5 years old, was excited about her new pink dress and couldn't stop jumping around the table. Ryan, usually an energetic and lively presence, was distracted, his eyes fixed on his phone screen. He occasionally smiled, but it was an empty smile, without the sparkle it used to have. Emily noticed the change but tried to ignore it. After all, Ryan's job was demanding, and he was under a lot of pressure to close a big deal. However, the absences began to prolong. What used to be 2 or 3 day trips turned into entire weeks away from home. Goodnight calls diminished, and loving messages became rare. One night, Emily was tidying up Emma's room when she heard Ryan's phone buzzing incessantly on the bedside table. Curious, she quickly glanced at the screen. It was a message from an unknown number, but the informal tone and frequency of the messages indicated an uncomfortable familiarity. Before she could read more, Ryan rushed into the room, grabbed the phone, and muttered something about work before leaving again. Insecurity began to take hold of Emily. She didn't want to believe something was wrong, but a woman's intuition is powerful. During one of Ryan's trips, she decided to call his office to leave a message. It was then that the assistant mentioned that Ryan hadn't been on a business trip for over a month. The shock of the discovery left Emily speechless, doubt turning into a bitter certainty. Trying to stay calm, Emily began to observe more closely. Ryan now avoided social gatherings with mutual friends, preferring to go out alone or claiming extreme tiredness. The excuses started to sound repetitive and unfounded. The nights, once filled with conversations and laughter, became silent and tense. One night, while Emily lay in bed pretending to sleep, she heard Ryan on the phone, his voice low and conspiratorial. The laughter that escaped him wasn't the one she knew, but something forced, almost nervous. When he finally hung up, he returned to the room and slipped into bed, unaware of the silent tears streaming down Emily's face. Doubts gnawed at Emily, and the woman who always prided herself on her confidence and independence now felt fragile and betrayed. She knew she needed to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it was. And so, the marriage that seemed rock solid began to show its cracks, heralding the storm that was to come. The house was silent that night, except for the faint sound of rain tapping against the windows. Emily was sitting on the living room couch, trying to focus on a book, but her mind was miles away. Ryan had left early, claiming a last-minute business meeting, and Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. After putting Emma to bed, she decided she could no longer ignore the suspicions that haunted her. With a heavy heart, she picked up Ryan's laptop and began to sift through his emails. Ryan had always been careful with his passwords, but Emily knew he had a weakness for using the same combination for everything. When the home screen opened, she felt a wave of guilt but knew she needed answers. The first few minutes of searching revealed nothing unusual. Work reports, communications with colleagues, everything seemed normal. But then, she found a folder marked personal. Her hand trembled as she clicked, and what she found made her heart stop. Photos of Ryan with a young woman, much younger than him, in various intimate situations. Each image was a stab, the pain almost unbearable. But the worst was yet to come. Among the photos were a series of emails. Emily clicked on the first one, feeling like an intruder in her own life. "Dear Ryan, I am so happy with the news about our baby. I can't wait to build our family together." The words danced on the screen, turning Emily's reality into a living nightmare. The young woman was pregnant, and Ryan, the man who had promised to love and protect Emily, was building a parallel life. The tears fell freely now as she read emails from Ryan promising financial support and eternal love to his mistress and the baby on the way. The contrast with the empty promises he had made to her was unbearable. Emily felt the ground open beneath her feet, a sense of betrayal so deep it left her breathless. It was then that Emily's phone vibrated. A message from Ryan. "We need to talk when I get back. It's important." She knew this meant he was about to reveal everything, but she couldn't imagine the cruelty that was yet to come. The front door slammed open, and Ryan entered, wet from the rain, with a grim expression on his face. Without preamble, he handed Emily an envelope. Inside were divorce papers. "Emily, I want a divorce. I'm with someone new, and she's expecting my child." Ryan's voice was cold, devoid of any trace of the man she had known. Emily could barely believe what she was hearing. "You can't do this," she whispered, the words barely audible. "We have a daughter. We have a life together." "I know," he replied, his voice hard, "but I've already decided. And if you try to fight this, I'll make sure you get nothing. I have powerful lawyers, Emily. You don't stand a chance." Ryan's threats were the last straw. The woman who once believed she had a solid marriage and a loving husband now faced a devastating reality. Emily knew her life would never be the same, but she also knew she couldn't let the pain defeat her. She had to fight for herself and for Emma. And so, in the midst of chaos and betrayal, she began to plan her next steps, determined not to let Ryan destroy everything she loved. The storm outside seemed to reflect the whirlwind of emotions inside Emily. Each thunderclap reverberated in her chest, echoing the anger and pain consuming her. Ryan was in the kitchen, calmly drinking coffee as if nothing had happened. Emily watched from a distance, her hands trembling with fury. She knew she couldn't delay any longer. It was time to confront the man who had destroyed her world. She walked into the kitchen, her presence immediately capturing Ryan's attention. He looked up from his cup, a look of surprise quickly turning to indifference. Emily took a deep breath, trying to keep her voice steady. "Ryan, we need to talk. Now." He sighed, as if being bothered by something trivial, and placed the cup on the table. "What is it now, Emily?" Ryan's words were the spark Emily needed. "What is it now?" she repeated, incredulous. "Do you think you can just destroy our family and treat it like a mere inconvenience?" Ryan stood up, his expression cold and calculating. "Emily, I've already said everything I needed to. I'm with someone else. We're getting a divorce." It's as simple as that. Emily took a step forward, her eyes burning with anger. As simple as that? You cheat on me, get a 20-year-old girl pregnant, and expect me to accept it passively? You threaten to take everything I have, Ryan. This is not simple. Ryan crossed his arms, his posture defensive. I'm not asking for your permission, Emily. I'm informing you. And as for taking everything you have, it's just a matter of justice. You've always had everything handed to you, while I worked hard. Emily's indignation reached a new peak. Justice? You really believe this is just? After everything we've been through together, everything we've built, you think you can just throw it all away? Ryan shrugged, a gesture that seemed disdainful. Things change, people change, and I've changed. I'm moving on, and you should too. Emily felt the tears threatening but wouldn't allow him to see her weakness. You won't intimidate me, Ryan. I won't let you destroy my life. If you want a war, you'll have it. He laughed, a cold, humorless sound. You really think you can fight me, Emily? I have resources, contacts, lawyers. You don't stand a chance. She lifted her chin, finding strength within herself. Maybe I don't have your resources, but I have something you've long lost. Ryan, integrity. And I'll use every bit of it to protect my daughter and our life. Ryan shook his head, as if facing a stubborn child. Do whatever you want, Emily. In the end, you'll see it's a losing battle. Emily turned, leaving the kitchen with firm steps. Each step took her further from the man she thought she knew and closer to rediscovering herself. The battle was just beginning, but she knew she had to fight, not only for herself but for Emma and the future they could still build, even if it was from the ashes of a destroyed marriage. After the explosive confrontation in the kitchen, Ryan seemed determined to maintain his cold and distant demeanor. He acted as if nothing had happened, as if the emotional storm that had devastated Emily was just a passing inconvenience. His eyes, once full of life and love, were now cold and calculating. Every move he made was a silent declaration of his irrevocable decision to move on, leaving Emily and Emma behind. That night, while Emily put Emma to bed, Ryan entered the room. Emma, unaware of the chaos unfolding around her, smiled when she saw her father. Daddy, will you read me a story tonight? Ryan hesitated for a moment, but then smiled at his daughter. Of course, sweetie. He picked a book from the shelf and sat beside Emma, starting to read. Emily watched from the door, her heart heavy. She knew that behind that moment of apparent normalcy, Ryan was preparing to dismantle everything they had built together. After Emma fell asleep, Ryan left the room and found Emily waiting for him in the hallway. We need to talk about Emma, she said, her voice firm despite the pain she felt. Ryan sighed, as if already tired of the conversation before it even started. What about her? She doesn't understand what's happening. You can't just disappear from her life, Ryan. She needs stability, security. He shook his head, his expression weary. I'm not going to disappear. I'll be present in her life. But things will change, Emily, and she'll have to adapt, just like you. Emily felt a lump in her throat. You don't understand, Ryan. This isn't just about adapting. It's about her well-being, about how she's going to handle all of this. Ryan crossed his arms, impassive. I've made my decision, Emily, and I'm not going to change my mind. I'll provide everything Emma needs, but I'm not going to continue this sham of a marriage. Ryan's words cut deep. A sham? Is that how you see our marriage now? After all these years, after everything we've been through? He shrugged, his indifference more painful than any argument. Things change, Emily, and I've changed. I found someone who makes me feel alive again, who makes me want more out of life. Pain and anger mixed inside Emily. And what about me and Emma? Are we just obstacles in the way of your happiness? Ryan looked at her, his expression softening for a moment. You're not obstacles, Emily, but I can't keep living a lie. I need to move on, and so do you. Emily felt the tears burning her eyes but stood firm. I'll fight, Ryan. For Emma's sake, I'll fight with all my strength. Ryan just shook his head again, as if already tired of the whole situation. Do what you think is best, Emily. But know that I won't back down. I'll make sure Emma has what she needs. But my future isn't here anymore." He turned and left, leaving Emily alone in the dark hallway. His words echoed in her mind, each one a cruel reminder that the man she loved had turned into a stranger. But as much as the pain consumed her, Emily knew she couldn't give up. For Emma, she would find the strength to face any adversity. And so, she prepared for the fight of her life, determined to protect her daughter and rebuild the pieces of her broken heart. The morning after the confrontation, Emily woke up with a heavy feeling in her chest. The silence in the house was oppressive, and she knew that Ryan had left early as usual. Trying to maintain some normalcy for Emma, she prepared breakfast and took her daughter to school. But her mind was racing, trying to process the events of the past 24 hours. Upon returning home, she found an envelope on the kitchen table. Her name was written in Ryan's familiar handwriting. With trembling hands, she opened the envelope and found a letter, accompanied by several photos. The contents were devastating. The letter was direct and ruthless. Ryan officially requested a divorce, reiterating his threats to use every possible resource to take everything from her. He mentioned that he had already hired a renowned lawyer and that she should prepare for an intense legal battle. Emily could barely believe the coldness and determination expressed in Ryan's words, as if the man she had shared a decade of her life with had turned into a cruel stranger. But the true blow came in the photos. The first showed Ryan hugging a young woman, clearly pregnant, with a radiant smile on his face. The following ones were even more painful. Intimate moments captured in various places, from restaurants to what appeared to be her home. Each photo was irrefutable proof of the new life Ryan was building at the expense of destroying their family. Emily felt a knot in her stomach. Anger and sadness swirled in an uncontrollable whirlwind of emotions. How could he do this? How could he abandon his wife and daughter for a young woman he barely knew? And still, threaten her so mercilessly? She collapsed onto the sofa, tears streaming freely. The image of the pregnant young woman seemed etched in her mind, a constant reminder of Ryan's betrayal. The future she had planned with such care was now in ruins, and uncertainty left her paralyzed. Emily's phone vibrated, momentarily pulling her out of her dark thoughts. It was a message from a close friend, Sarah, who had noticed Emily's absence at recent gatherings. "Hi, Emily. Are you okay? I missed you yesterday. We need to catch up." Emily hesitated for a moment but decided she needed support. She needed to share her pain with someone who could understand. She quickly replied, arranging to meet later that day. That afternoon, Emily met Sarah at a cozy cafe downtown. The aroma of fresh coffee and the gentle murmur of conversations around them provided a brief respite from Emily's inner turmoil. When Sarah arrived, her warm smile and comforting hug brought temporary relief. "Emily, you look exhausted. What's going on?" Sarah asked, her voice full of concern. Emily took a deep breath and, with a trembling voice, began to tell everything. About Ryan's betrayal, the pregnant young woman, the divorce threats. Sarah listened in silence, holding Emily's hand, offering her silent comfort. "I don't know what to do, Sarah. He's determined to destroy me, and I have to protect Emma?" Emily confessed, feeling more vulnerable than ever. Sarah squeezed her hand. "You're not alone, Emily. We'll face this together. We'll find the best lawyer, someone who can fight for you and Emma, and you have all of us for support." Sarah's determination gave Emily a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could survive this storm. She knew the battle would be tough, but she was determined to fight with all her strength. For Emma, for her dignity, and for a future that, though uncertain, could still be rebuilt. The weeks that followed were a blur of pain and despair for Emily. Each day was a struggle to maintain a facade of normalcy for Emma's sake. She woke up every morning feeling as if an immense weight was pressing on her chest, making each breath difficult. Emma's confused and worried look broke her heart, but Emily knew she had to be strong for her daughter, even if her own life was falling apart. The house, once a refuge of love and security, now felt like a prison of painful memories. The family photos scattered on the walls and shelves were constant reminders of what was once a happy marriage. Every room echoed with the laughter and moments they shared, now replaced by oppressive silence and the shadow of Ryan's betrayal. Nights were the worst. After putting Emma to bed, Emily found herself alone, facing the darkness and loneliness. The silence of the house was broken only by the sound of her own tears. She curled up on the sofa, hugging a pillow, trying to find some comfort in the few hours of sleep she managed to steal. Nightmares were frequent, scenes of Ryan and his pregnant mistress replaying endlessly, turning her nights into continuous torment. Emily's isolation increased as the weeks passed. Friends and family tried to offer support, but the pain and shame made her retreat. She avoided social gatherings, fearing questions and pitying looks from those who knew about the situation. Every missed call and unanswered message was a barrier she built to protect herself, but it also distanced her from those who wanted to help. Even at work, where she had always excelled, things began to fall apart. Emily's concentration was minimal. Her thoughts constantly turned to Ryan's betrayal and the uncertainty of the future. Colleagues noticed the change, offering help and trying to start conversations, but she shut herself off even more. The feeling of inadequacy and failure permeated every aspect of her professional life, turning simple tasks into insurmountable challenges. One night, while lying on the sofa, staring at the ceiling, Emily felt the weight of her loneliness more intensely than ever. She picked up the phone and dialed her mother's number, hesitating before pressing the call button. The familiar voice on the other end of the line brought a wave of emotions. "Emily, dear, are you okay?" Her mother's gentle voice asked, full of concern. Emily's words came out broken, filled with pain. "Mom, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm losing control of everything. Ryan, he destroyed our family." Her mother sighed, a mix of sadness and support in her voice. "I know, dear. I know it's hard. But you are strong, Emily. You always have been, and you are not alone. We are here for you." Tears streamed freely now, but there was a small spark of hope. "I don't know how to keep going, Mom. Emma, she deserves so much more than this. She does, and so do you. But one step at a time, Emily. Allow yourself to feel the pain, but don't let it consume you. We will get through this together." The call brought some relief, but also the realization that the battle was just beginning. Emily knew she needed to find strength within herself, not just for Emma but for her own sake. The loneliness still haunted her, but her mother's voice and her daughter's love were anchors amid the chaos. In the days that followed, Emily began to take small steps. She accepted Sarah's help to find a competent lawyer, started responding to worried friends' messages, and slowly tried to rebuild her life. The despair was still present, but now it was accompanied by a growing determination to fight and protect what was left of her world. And so, Emily prepared for the long battle ahead, knowing that every step forward was a victory against the isolation and pain that threatened to overwhelm her. As Emily struggled against the tide of despair and isolation, a glimmer of hope appeared from an unexpected source. It was a cold Tuesday afternoon when she decided to take Emma to the park, trying to offer her daughter a bit of normalcy. While Emma played on the playground, Emily sat on a bench, lost in dark thoughts. Suddenly, a familiar voice interrupted her reverie. "Emily, is that you?" She looked up and saw Claire, a friend from college, with whom she had lost contact after graduation. Claire was accompanied by her son, who was playing energetically with Emma. Emily forced a weak smile, surprised and a little apprehensive. "Claire, it's been so long. How are you?" Emily replied, trying to hide the vulnerability in her voice. Claire sat beside her, her eyes full of understanding. "I'm fine, but the question is, how are you? I've heard some things about you and Ryan." "I'm so sorry, Emily." Claire's words brought a wave of emotion to the surface. Emily tried to maintain her composure, but her friend's genuine concern made her crumble. "I'm trying to survive. So hard, Claire. I never thought my life would disintegrate like this." Claire held Emily's hand, offering silent comfort. "You know, I went through a divorce 2 years ago. It was devastating. But one thing I learned is that we can't face everything alone. Sometimes we need help, and it's okay to ask for it." Emily looked at Claire, surprised. You? I didn't know. You always seemed so strong, so invincible. Claire gave a sad smile. Believe me, we all have our moments of weakness, but strength comes from the support of those around us. And I'm here for you, Emily. We'll get through this together. That moment of connection brought unexpected comfort to Emily. Claire began visiting her regularly, bringing not only words of support but also homemade meals and offers to take care of Emma, allowing Emily some time for herself. Claire's constant presence was like a balm for Emily's wounded soul. Moreover, support came in ways Emily could never have predicted. One rainy morning, while Emily was reviewing legal documents with her lawyer, she received a text message from Mark, a colleague of Ryan who had become a mutual friend over the years. Emily, can we meet? I have something important to discuss. Curious and cautious, she agreed. They met at a discreet cafe downtown. Mark seemed nervous but determined. Emily, I know what Ryan did is unforgivable, and I can't stand by and watch you suffer. There's something you need to know. Mark revealed that Ryan had used company funds to finance his extravagant lifestyle with his mistress. The information he provided was detailed and incriminating, enough to turn the case in Emily's favor in court. I couldn't stay silent any longer. You deserve justice, Emily. With Claire's support and Mark's bombshell revelation, Emily began to feel a resurgence of hope and determination. She knew the battle was far from over, but now she had allies by her side. Each day, she regained a bit more of her strength, prepared to fight not just for herself but also for Emma. The days continued to be challenging, but with true friends and unexpected support, Emily began to see a path to healing. She realized that even in the darkest situations, there is always a light, no matter how small, ready to guide those who have the courage to seek it. And so, with a slightly lighter heart and renewed determination, Emily prepared to face the challenges to come, knowing she was no longer alone. She had a support network ready to help her rebuild her life from the ashes of the past. Determined to protect Emma and maintain what was left of her life, Emily embarked on the quest for justice with new determination. Mark's revelations about Ryan's financial fraud gave her a crucial advantage. With this information, she knew she needed the best lawyer possible to face the upcoming legal battle. Sarah, her faithful friend, recommended a lawyer specializing in divorce and financial disputes. He's the best, Emily. I've seen him turn impossible cases into victories. He can help you. The next afternoon, Emily met with the lawyer, Peter Harris, in his office. He was a middle-aged man with piercing eyes and an aura of confidence that inspired tranquility. After hearing Emily's story, he made some notes and looked her directly in the eyes. Emily, I'll be honest with you, this won't be an easy road. Ryan has resources and influence, but with the evidence you brought, we have a real chance of winning. We'll fight with all our strength. Emily felt a wave of relief mixed with apprehension. What do I need to do? Peter smiled slightly. First, we need to gather all the evidence we have against Ryan. We need to document everything from financial fraud to the threats he made. Then, we'll file a petition to block his assets, preventing him from hiding or selling them. We'll also request alimony for you and Emma. The following days were a frantic mix of meetings, phone calls, and evidence gathering. Mark continued to provide valuable information about Ryan's illicit activities, risking his own career to help Emily. Sarah and Claire took turns caring for Emma, allowing Emily to focus on preparing the case. Emily spent countless nights reviewing documents, writing statements, and mentally preparing for courtroom confrontations. Peter's reassuring presence and her friend's constant support gave her the strength she needed to move forward. However, the tension was palpable, and she knew Ryan wouldn't back down easily. Finally, the day of the trial arrived. Emily dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that made her feel confident and strong. Peter met her at the courthouse entrance, offering an encouraging smile. "Let's do this, Emily. Let's get justice for you and Emma." The courtroom was packed. Ryan was present, accompanied by his expensive lawyers and as confident as ever. When Emily entered, he shot her a cold look, but she held her head high. She knew she couldn't show weakness. During the trial, Ryan's lawyers tried to discredit Emily, painting her as a vengeful and emotionally unstable wife. But Peter was prepared. He presented the evidence of Ryan's financial fraud with precision and clarity, leaving little room for doubt. Mark testified, corroborating every detail and exposing the truth about Ryan's actions. The culmination of the trial was Emily's testimony. With a firm voice, she recounted Ryan's threats, the pain of betrayal, and the devastating impact it had on her and Emma's lives. The courtroom was in absolute silence, each word carrying emotion and truth. When the judge finally gave his verdict, the room held its breath. In consideration of the evidence presented, this court rules in favor of the petitioner, Emily Davis. Ryan Miller is ordered to pay monthly alimony to the petitioner and their daughter, Emma Miller, and to restore the misappropriated assets. Emily felt a mixture of relief and triumph. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they were of hope and renewal. She had faced the storm and emerged victorious, not just for herself but for Emma. As she left the courthouse, Peter turned to her and said, "You were amazing, Emily. This is just the beginning of a new life for you and Emma. We'll keep fighting for everything you deserve." Emily looked at Emma, who was waiting in Claire's arms, and smiled. She knew that despite the challenges they still faced, they had a bright future ahead. The quest for justice had been arduous, but now she was stronger and more determined than ever, ready to rebuild her life and offer Emma the security and love she deserved. Emily thought the legal battle had ended after the initial court decision. However, she was far from imagining that Ryan had one last trick up his sleeve. A few days after the trial, Emily received a summons for an additional hearing. Ryan had appealed the decision, claiming that new evidence could change the case's outcome. Peter Harris met her in his office. The documents for the new hearing spread across the table. "Emily, it seems Ryan isn't willing to give up easily. He's found a new strategy and seems to be trying to surprise us with something." Emily felt a knot in her stomach. What could he possibly have now? We've already exposed all his frauds and lies. Peter sighed, pressing his lips together. He's trying to invalidate the evidence we used in the previous trial, claiming it was obtained illegally. Moreover, he has hired a new lawyer, someone known for being ruthless. On the day of the new hearing, the tension was palpable. Ryan was accompanied by his new lawyer, a woman named Victoria Blake, known for her coldness and ability to dismantle seemingly irrefutable cases. When she began to speak, her voice was firm and authoritative. "Your Honor, we are here to prove that the evidence presented in the previous trial was obtained without due legal process, violating my client's rights. Additionally, we have new evidence showing that the petitioner's financial situation is not as precarious as she claimed." Emily felt her heart race. What could they have against her? Peter gave her a reassuring look before standing up to counter. "Your Honor, the evidence we presented was obtained legitimately, with credible witnesses and authenticated documents. The defense's attempt to discredit this evidence is simply a maneuver to avoid the legal consequences of Mr. Miller's actions." Victoria Blake then presented a series of documents suggesting that Emily had received substantial financial assistance from her family and friends, insinuating that she had lied about her financial situation to gain an advantage in court. Emily knew this was a distortion of the truth, but it was hard not to feel threatened by Victoria's skill in manipulating the information. The hearing was a true battlefield, with fierce arguments from both sides. Emily felt the pressure mounting, but Peter remained steadfast, challenging each accusation with facts and logic. He called Mark back to the stand, and he reaffirmed his position, highlighting the illicit nature of Ryan's actions and how it had harmed Emily and Emma. When it was Emily's turn to testify again, she stood up with renewed determination. "I am not here to lie or manipulate the facts. All I have asked for is justice for myself and my daughter. What Ryan did was devastating, and the evidence we presented is legitimate. I just want what is fair, to be able to move forward and rebuild our life." The judge listened attentively to every argument, every testimony. When he finally gave his verdict, the room was in complete silence. "After reviewing the new evidence and hearing both sides, I uphold my original decision. The evidence presented by Mr. Harris was obtained legally, and the petitioner's financial situation does not invalidate Mr. Miller's illicit actions. The court reaffirms Mr. Miller's obligation to pay alimony and restore the misappropriated assets. Emily let out a sigh of relief, feeling tears of joy well up. Ryan, standing next to Victoria Blake, looked defeated. She knew this victory would not have been possible without Mark's courage, Claire and Sarah's support, and Peter's tireless dedication. After the hearing, Peter turned to Emily, a smile of satisfaction on his face. "You did a great job, Emily. It was a long road, but we did it." Emily hugged Peter, feeling immense gratitude. "Thank you, Peter. Thank you for everything. Now we can finally move on." As she left the courthouse, Emily felt a new sense of hope and renewal. She looked at Emma, who was waiting with Claire outside, and knew that despite the difficulties, they had a bright future ahead. The legal twist had been challenging, but Emily emerged stronger and determined to protect what was left of her life and rebuild a new beginning for herself and her daughter. Emily's initial victory was just the beginning of a long and arduous judicial battle. With each new hearing, it seemed that Ryan found new ways to complicate the process, dragging her through a maze of legal technicalities and courtroom maneuvers. Peter Harris remained steadfast by Emily's side, his experience and determination crucial for navigating the complexities of the legal system. With each court session, he presented solid arguments, irrefutable evidence, and reliable witnesses that reinforced Emily's position. But Ryan, with his unlimited resources, didn't make things easy. One of the biggest twists occurred when Ryan presented a prenuptial agreement, claiming that Emily had signed it years ago, waiving any rights to his assets in case of divorce. Emily was stunned, not remembering signing such a document, but she knew Ryan was capable of forging anything to keep his fortune intact. Peter examined the document carefully, noting inconsistencies in the dates and signatures. He decided to call a handwriting expert to testify about the document's authenticity. During the hearing, the expert presented his findings, pointing out that Emily's signature had been clearly forged. Ryan's defense tried to discredit the expert, but the evidence was clear. The prenuptial agreement presented by Mr. Miller is invalid due to the forgery of the petitioner's signature, declared the judge, reaffirming Emily's position. Despite this victory, Ryan didn't back down. He alleged that Emily was an unfit mother, trying to gain full custody of Emma. He brought witnesses who spoke about Emily's emotional state after the separation, trying to paint her as unstable and incapable of caring for their daughter. Emily felt betrayed and humiliated, but she knew she couldn't give up. Peter prepared a solid defense, calling friends, family, and even Emma's teachers to testify about the love and care Emily showed. The witnesses spoke about how Emily was a dedicated mother, always present in her daughter's life despite all the pain she was facing. Even Claire, who had known Emily since college, gave a heartfelt testimony about her friend's strength and resilience. "Emily is an amazing mother," said Claire in court, her words full of conviction. "She always puts Emma first, ensuring her daughter has all the love and support she needs. There's no doubt that Emma is in great hands with her mother." Emily watched each testimony with a heavy but grateful heart. The judicial battle was exhausting, but the support of everyone around her gave her the strength to keep fighting. Finally, after months of hearings, testimonies, and legal disputes, the judge made his final decision. Considering all the evidence and testimonies presented, this court rules in favor of Emily Davis. She will retain primary custody of Emma, with supervised visits by the father. Emily could hardly believe it. Tears streamed down her face as she hugged Peter, feeling immense relief. "We did it, Peter. We did it." Peter smiled, satisfied. "Yes, Emily, you did it. Now you and Emma can finally move on." As she left the courthouse, Emily felt lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She looked at Emma, who ran joyfully to her, and knew that despite all the challenges, they had a bright future ahead. The judicial battle had been intense, but Emily emerged victorious, ready to rebuild her life and offer Emma the stability and love she deserved. With the court's decision in her favor, Emily finally began to see a more stable future for herself and Emma. But the judicial battle had left deep scars, and now she needed to muster all her strength to rebuild her life from the ruins. Determined not to be defined by the painful events of the past, she threw herself headfirst into this new phase of her life with a courage and resilience she didn't even know she possessed. Emily started attending therapy sessions, something she had previously considered unnecessary but now saw as essential for her emotional recovery. Her therapist, Dr. Mitchell, helped her process the pain of betrayal and find ways to cope with the trauma. "You are stronger than you think, Emily," he said in one of the sessions. "Going through all this and still being here, fighting, is a testament to your resilience." In addition to therapy, Emily threw herself into her work. She knew she needed to secure a future for Emma and herself. She returned to working as a financial consultant, but this time with renewed focus and energy that surprised her colleagues. Emily began accepting more challenging projects, gaining recognition for her dedication and skill. In no time, she was promoted to a leadership position, something she never imagined possible amid the chaos of her personal life. Emma, watching her mother's strength, also blossomed. The girl, once worried and confused by her parents' situation, began to feel more secure and confident. Emily made sure Emma's routine was full of activities that made her happy: ballet classes, playdates with friends, and plenty of quality time together. Every smile from Emma was a reminder of why Emily was fighting so hard. One afternoon, while Emily was reviewing some documents in her office, she received an unexpected call. It was Claire, her longtime friend. "Emily, I have to tell you something," Claire said, her voice excited. "Remember those lectures you always wanted to give about financial education for women? I got a contact at the community center. They would love for you to be a speaker." Emily felt a wave of excitement. She had always wanted to use her skills to help other women become financially independent. "Claire, this is amazing. I'd love to do it. Let's set up a meeting." With Claire's support, Emily began giving monthly lectures at the community center. She shared her experiences and knowledge, helping other women understand the importance of managing their finances and being prepared for any eventuality. The lectures were a success, and soon Emily became a respected figure in the community, known for her strength and generosity. However, Emily's greatest transformation came from within. Through therapy, work, and lectures, she rediscovered her self-confidence and self-worth. She learned to value herself regardless of circumstances. She remembered who she was before Ryan and who she could be now, an even stronger and more resilient version of herself. One night, after putting Emma to bed, Emily sat on the porch of her new house, looking at the stars. She felt a peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. The scars were still there, but now they were symbols of her journey, marks of a battle she had won. She took out her journal and wrote, "Today, I feel stronger than ever. I've been through hell and back, and I'm still here. Emma has a mother who will never give up, and I have a life full of possibilities. The past doesn't define our future. We are the architects of our own stories." Emily closed the journal with a smile, ready to face whatever the future held. She knew that with her newfound strength and Emma's unconditional love, she could overcome anything. And, above all, she knew she was finally in control of her own life, ready to write the next chapter of her story with courage and hope. While Emily was rebuilding her life with strength and resilience, Ryan was beginning to face the consequences of his actions. The image of confidence and success he had carefully constructed was rapidly crumbling, revealing the true extent of his mistakes. The first cracks appeared at work. The evidence of financial fraud presented in court caught the attention of Ryan's superiors. He was called to an emergency meeting with the company's board of directors. The room was filled with stern faces and accusatory looks. Ryan tried to maintain his composure, but the pressure was overwhelming. "Ryan, the accusations against you are serious," said the company's president, with a firm voice. "Fraud, embezzlement, misconduct. This is unacceptable. We have enough evidence to fire you for cause." Ryan tried to defend himself, claiming the accusations were false and that he was a victim of a setup. However, the evidence was irrefutable. Financial documents, testimonies from colleagues, and even text messages he thought were hidden were revealed. There was no escaping the truth. "You are fired, effective immediately," declared the president, "and we will be pursuing legal action to recover the embezzled funds." Ryan left the meeting room in a state of shock. His career, which he valued so much, was in ruins. He not only lost his job, but also his reputation. News of his dismissal spread quickly, and soon everyone in the industry knew about his transgressions. But Ryan's problems didn't stop there. His new life with the young mistress, Sarah, also began to fall apart. With the loss of his job and the impending legal action against him, the luxurious lifestyle he had promised Sarah became unsustainable. Their arguments increased, and the tension grew every day. "You said you would give me everything," Sarah shouted during a heated argument. "Now we're out of money, and I'm pregnant. How do you expect me to trust you?" Desperate, Ryan tried to calm her down. "I'll fix this, Sarah. Promise. I just need some time." But time was something Ryan didn't have. Debts were piling up, and he was about to lose everything. Sarah, realizing his empty promises wouldn't come true, decided to leave him. "I can't do this anymore, Ryan. I need to think about my child. I'm leaving." With Sarah gone from his life, Ryan was truly alone. He had alienated everyone who cared about him, and now he faced the harsh reality of his choices. His house, bought with illicit money, was being confiscated. He received notices of various legal actions, including one from the family court reaffirming his obligation to pay alimony to Emily and Emma. One day, while walking through the city, Ryan found himself in front of the courthouse where so many battles had been fought. He sat on a nearby bench, feeling the weight of his actions. The arrogance that once defined him was gone, replaced by deep regret. Meanwhile, Emily continued to flourish. She heard about Ryan's downfall through friends and acquaintances, but chose not to rejoice in his misfortune. Instead, she felt sadness for the man he had become, remembering the love they once shared. One evening, while putting Emma to bed, the little girl asked innocently, "Mommy, why doesn't Daddy visit us anymore?" Emily looked into Emma's eyes and replied tenderly, "Daddy is going through a tough time, sweetie, but know that he still loves you, even if he's far away." Emily knew the future still held challenges, but she also knew she had found an inner strength that would guide her. Ryan, on the other hand, was beginning to understand the consequences of his actions, facing a downfall he never anticipated. Ryan and Emily's story was a powerful reminder that choices have consequences, and true strength comes from facing adversity with courage and integrity. Emily emerged stronger and more resilient, while Ryan faced a long road to rebuild his life from the ashes. While Ryan faced his downfall, Emily was ready for a new chapter in her life. The judicial battle had ended, but Emily's true victory went beyond court decisions. It was a victory of spirit, strength, and determination. With Emma's custody secured and Ryan's alimony guaranteed, Emily could focus on rebuilding her life. She moved into a smaller but cozy house, where every detail was carefully thought out to create an environment of peace and happiness for herself and Emma. The garden bloomed with vibrant colors, reflecting the new life Emily was cultivating. At work, Emily continued to thrive. Her promotion to a leadership position brought new challenges, but also new opportunities. She led her team with the same passion and dedication she applied in her personal life, inspiring her colleagues with her story of resilience. Emily was invited to participate in conferences and seminars, where she shared her experiences and offered advice on overcoming adversity. But Emily's greatest victory was at home, with Emma by her side. Every moment with her daughter was a celebration of life and the strength they had found together. Friday nights, once lonely and painful, were now filled with laughter and play. They created new traditions like movie nights and cooking sessions, where Emily taught Emma to make their favorite dishes. One day, while they were at the park, Emma asked, "Mommy, are you happy now?" Emily looked at her daughter and smiled, feeling a wave of emotion. "Yes, sweetie, I'm very happy. And you?" Emma smiled back, her eyes sparkling. "I am too, Mommy." Emily's victory wasn't just in overcoming the challenges Ryan imposed, but in finding a new source of happiness and purpose. She knew the journey hadn't been easy, but every step brought her closer to a full and fulfilling life. Emily also dedicated time to helping other women going through similar situations. Her lectures at the community center became a success, and she founded a support group for women transitioning from difficult divorces. Sharing her story and listening to others' stories reinforced her determination and inspired her to continue fighting for justice and equality. One evening, after putting Emma to bed, Emily sat on her porch with a cup of tea. Looking at the stars, she felt a deep peace. The scars of the past were still there, but now they were battle marks that told the story of her strength and resilience. She took out her journal and wrote, "Today, I celebrate not only legal victories, but victories of the heart and soul. Every day, I feel stronger and more determined to live fully. Emma and I have a bright future ahead, and I'm grateful for every step of this journey." Emily closed the journal with a smile, knowing that the true victory was in finding her own strength and creating a life full of love, purpose, and hope. With time, Emily began to realize that her journey of overcoming had given her a new perspective on life. The painful experiences she faced made her wiser and more resilient, and she was determined to use those lessons to build an even better future for herself and Emma. One of the first steps in this new phase was reconnecting with old friends and making new ones. Emily had isolated herself during the darkest moments of her life, but now she was ready to open her heart again. She started attending social gatherings, parties, and community events, where she met people who shared similar interests. It was at one of these events that she met Jake, a single father whose daughter, Lily, was friends with Emma at school. Jake was kind and caring, and they quickly became friends. He understood the challenges of raising a child alone and offered a supportive shoulder for Emily. Over time, their friendship blossomed into something deeper. Jake respected Emily's space and time, allowing her to move forward at her own pace. On a sunny afternoon, while the children played in the park, Emily and Jake sat on a bench, watching them with smiles on their faces. "You've done an amazing job with Emma," Jake said, turning to Emily. "She's such a happy and secure little girl." Emily smiled, feeling the warmth of Jake's sincerity. "Thank you, Jake. You're a wonderful father to Lily as well. It's good to have someone who understands the challenges and joys of being a single parent." Jake took Emily's hand, and she felt a comfort and connection she hadn't experienced in a long time. "I'm glad we found each other, Emily. I know it's early, but I feel like we have something special." Emily looked into Jake's eyes and saw honesty and affection. "I feel that too, Jake. Let's see where this takes us, with patience and an open heart." In addition to opening herself to new relationships, Emily also dedicated herself to her career with renewed vigor. The promotion she received turned into a platform for her to make a difference. She implemented mentorship programs for young professionals and worked to create a more inclusive and supportive work environment. Her inspiring leadership was recognized, and she received awards for her contribution to the industry. But the most significant impact of her new perspective was on her relationship with Emma. Emily was determined to ensure her daughter grew up knowing she was loved and valued. They spent hours together exploring museums, walking in parks, and simply talking about life. Emily encouraged Emma to follow her dreams and be brave in the face of challenges. One evening, while they were having a painting session together, Emma asked, "Mommy, you'll always be here for me, right?" Emily stopped painting and looked at her daughter. "Always, my love. No matter what happens, I'll always be here for you." Emma smiled and hugged her mother. "I love you, Mommy. You're the best." Those words warmed Emily's heart. She knew that despite all the difficulties, she was building a home full of love and security for Emma, and that was the greatest victory of all. As she looked to the future, Emily felt excited about the possibilities. She had been through a storm but emerged stronger and more determined. With a new perspective on life, she was ready to embrace every moment, knowing she had the power to create a bright future for herself and Emma. And so, on a starry night, Emily sat on her porch with a cup of tea in her hands and a smile on her face. The scars of the past were just reminders of her journey, and now she looked at the stars with hope and gratitude. She knew that with love, courage, and resilience, She could face any challenge life threw at her. Emily was ready to write the next chapter of her story, a chapter full of love, growth, and new opportunities. She was ready to live fully, with a new perspective that valued every moment, every challenge, and every victory. While Emily was rebuilding her life with dignity and strength, Ryan, on the other hand, was sinking deeper into his own abyss of consequences. The image of success he had projected for so long was rapidly crumbling, and he found himself increasingly isolated and desperate. But the universe has its ways of balancing the scales, and Ryan's fate was about to take an unexpected turn. Emily never sought revenge, but sometimes circumstances conspire to bring justice in surprising ways. After Sarah left him, Ryan found himself alone in a modest apartment, far from the luxury he was accustomed to. His finances were in ruins, and legal actions against him were piling up. He lost the respect of his colleagues, friends, and even his own family. Loneliness and regret consumed him, but he still hadn't learned the true lesson. Emily, aware of Ryan's downfall, kept her distance, focusing on her life and Emma. But when she discovered that Ryan had tried to escape his financial responsibilities by hiding his assets, she knew she had to act. It wasn't just for her, but for Emma, who deserved justice and security. With Peter's help, her tireless lawyer, Emily gathered evidence that Ryan was hiding money in offshore accounts and making transfers to avoid paying the alimony and restitution ordered by the court. Peter filed a new lawsuit, this time not just to ensure compliance with the court orders, but to expose the full extent of Ryan's fraud. The new trial was a spectacle that drew the attention of the local media. People who once admired Ryan now watched as he faced serious accusations. The courtroom was packed, everyone eager to see the outcome of this saga. Ryan tried to maintain his arrogant posture, but the evidence was overwhelming. Financial documents, testimonies from former accomplices, and even recordings of compromising conversations were presented. Each new revelation was a blow that Ryan couldn't avoid. When it was Emily's turn to testify, she stood on the stand with the same dignity and strength she had cultivated over the years. "I'm not here for revenge," she began, her voice firm and clear. "I'm here to ensure my daughter has the future she deserves, and to show that no one is above the law." The judge listened attentively to every word, and when it was time for the verdict, there was no doubt. "Ryan Miller, you are convicted of fraud, asset concealment, and disobedience to court orders. Your sentence includes immediate restitution of all misappropriated funds, in addition to a prison term for your crimes." The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as Ryan was handcuffed and taken away by officers. Emily watched in silence, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. She never wanted things to reach this point, but she knew justice had been served. As she left the courthouse, she was surrounded by reporters and curious onlookers. She remained calm and dignified, answering a few questions briefly before heading home, where Emma was waiting. When she entered the door, Emma ran into her arms. "Mommy, are you okay?" Emma asked, looking worried. Emily smiled and hugged her daughter. "Yes, sweetie, I'm fine. We're fine. Now we can move on." With time, news of Ryan's downfall spread, serving as a reminder that actions have consequences and justice, though it may take time, always prevails. Emily continued to live her life with integrity and strength, always putting Emma first. She knew that true revenge wasn't Ryan's downfall, but the success and happiness that she and Emma were building together. Emily was finally at peace, knowing she had done everything in her power to protect her daughter and ensure a bright future for both of them. And so, on a sunny day, as they walked through the park, Emily felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The past was behind them, and the future was full of possibilities. Emily and Emma had won, not just in the legal battles but in life, with love, courage, and an unyielding determination to move forward. With the turmoil of the past finally behind her, Emily was ready to embrace a new beginning. The scars of her journey were deep, but they were also marks of her resilience and courage. She had learned to transform pain into strength and sadness into motivation to build a bright future for herself and Emma. Autumn arrived, bringing with it a sense of renewal. The leaves were falling, covering the streets with a golden mantle, and Emily felt it was the perfect moment for new opportunities. She had received a proposal to expand her lectures on financial education for women across the state. The project, called Empowered Women, aimed to provide tools and resources for more women to achieve financial independence. With Claire and Sarah's support, Emily began organizing workshops and events in different cities. Each lecture was a chance to share her story and inspire other women to overcome their own difficulties. Emily found strength in the strength of others, and the community that formed around her work was a testament that together they were stronger. On a Saturday morning, Emily was organizing a big event in Seattle when a familiar presence appeared in the crowd. Jake, who had become a pillar in her life, was there, with a smile that warmed her heart. He approached and took her hand. "I'm so proud of you, Emily. What you're doing here is incredible." Emily smiled, feeling grateful for Jake's constant support. "Thank you, Jake. Having you by my side makes everything even more special." The event was a success, and Emily received praise from many women who felt inspired by her story. At the end of the day, while helping to clean up the venue, she found a letter among the materials left on the stage. It was a letter from a young woman named Rachel. "Dear Emily, your story gave me the strength to believe in myself again. I was lost, thinking I would never overcome the challenges I face. But hearing you talk about your journey and how you transformed your life made me realize that I can find my way too. Thank you for being a light in dark times. With gratitude, Rachel." Emily felt tears form in her eyes. This was why she did what she did. Every word from Rachel was a confirmation that her pain had turned into a greater purpose. That night, when Emily returned home, she found Emma waiting for her in the living room. The girl was excited, with a sparkle in her eyes. "Mommy, guess what happened today at school?" Emily sat next to her daughter, curious. "What happened, sweetie?" Emma smiled. "I won the drawing contest. My drawing will be displayed at the City Museum." Emily's heart filled with pride. "That's amazing, Emma. I'm so proud of you." Embracing, they celebrated Emma's victory, a symbol of the new achievements and joys that were to come. Life was getting back on track, and each small triumph was proof that they were on the right path. As the months passed, Emily and Jake began to build a future together. Friday nights were now reserved for family dinners, where Emma and Lily became inseparable, and the house was filled with laughter and love. Emily felt that she had finally found a balance between her work, her family, and her heart. One night, while walking through the moonlit park, Jake stopped and took Emily's hands. "Emily, you've transformed my life in ways I never imagined. You are the strongest and most inspiring woman I've ever known, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Emily felt her heart race. She looked into Jake's eyes, seeing all the love and sincerity he offered. "Yes, Jake, I will." The news of the engagement brought even more joy to their lives. The celebration was simple, surrounded by friends and family who had been essential parts of their journey. Emily knew that marrying Jake was not just a new beginning, but the continuation of a love story built on trust, respect, and overcoming. On the eve of the wedding, Emily wrote in her journal, "Today, I'm about to embark on a new adventure. The journey here was full of challenges, but also victories and discoveries. I'm grateful for every moment, every person who crossed my path, and every lesson learned. Jake and I are ready to build a life together, and I know that, with Emma by our side, we have everything we need to be happy. This is our new beginning, and I am stronger and more hopeful than ever." And so, with a heart full of love and hope, Emily was ready for the next chapter of her life. She knew that, no matter what the future held, she was prepared to face everything with courage and determination. After all, she had learned to turn adversities into opportunities, and now she was ready to live fully, surrounded by the people she loved. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to our channel now. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Leave a like if you liked it.